Hello, Jacqueline. I would like to ask about romantic relationships. How do I know if a relationship that I might want, uh, the desire is coming from a space of love, um, or whether it is coming from a space of attachment and maybe even drama?
Okay. Hmm. Good question, yeah. Well, at times it can seem a little difficult to separate the two, you know, and attachment and the wish for the drama. It is a kind of desire. Mm. And ultimately, there's nothing wrong with desires. You know, if we didn't have any, we wouldn't even get out of bed in the morning. So, initially, this can be triggered by a desire for something. But then, you know, you're intelligent and aware enough to ask the question. So the thing to do in this particular case, for example, is to be very, very aware from the beginning and to be as honest with yourself as possible. Because for some people, the pull to relationship is very addictive and has to do with not wanting to be alone, or as you say, maybe addicted to the drama that relationships can bring. Um, and then that can also be there, where it can also be the beginning of a true love relationship. It can be difficult to see what's what in the beginning. But if you have a tendency to be addicted to relationships, then from the inner work you've done, you can go into a new relationship very much aware that you have this tendency. And, you know, feeling how wonderful it is to be falling in love again, experience all of that, but with awareness. Do you remember I've often said that, I think it was Osho who said something like, Tantra is indulgence plus awareness, right? And if the plus awareness isn't there, it's just indulgence. And we see this in a lot of what is called today Tantra. It's simply indulgence. It's not to judge it, but it's not Tantra. Tantra is a pathway, and it's indulgence. It's saying yes to whatever is, plus awareness, right? So, I don't know if you are just going into a new relationship now, and you don't need to answer that. But if you are, if you could go into it knowing that you have a tendency to be addicted to the drama, to want someone in your life, or not to want to be alone, if you go in with this awareness and are willing to be really, really honest with yourself, you know, and spend time alone with yourself, you know, just asking in your heart, where am I coming from in this relationship? What is behind this attraction? If you can do this, then you have a good chance of going into what I would call a real relationship and not another relationship, right? And if you go into a real relationship and maybe, you know, after a short time, you feel it's not meant to be, well, you can thank each other for the experience and part as friends without getting into all the relationship stuff. But when people go in and they're not aware, it's amazing how long they can stay in a relationship and all the dramas, and somewhere in their minds telling themselves, oh, it's meant to be, this must be my karma, or maybe it's my dharma, and not listening to the signals. And the signals are there in the very beginning. And if you are aware in the very beginning, you know, this is part of my addictive pattern, and I'm wanting this and wanting that, and you just are very aware, then if you're totally aware, it would be difficult to stay into it, to stay in it, for such a long time where it becomes a relationship and pulls you down. So it's a useful question, and in the beginning, without the awareness, one doesn't know the difference. Because if somebody really falls in love, you know the expression falling in love, the very act of falling in love, instead of rising in love, that awareness isn't there, it's gone. It's gone. I've even heard from some clairvoyant surveys, you know, that if you can see the colours in the aura when someone falls in love, the yellow tends to disappear. You've not heard that? I've heard this many times. And the yellow is like the intellect. It doesn't mean you've got to be totally in your intellect. But the intellect can also give you important information. And if that's really, you know, gone off the stage, or, you know, just disappeared, then everything's going to feel perfectly okay. There'll be nothing there telling you, hey, be careful. You know, that was a red flag. Or does that really feel okay for you? So whatever you do, relationship or whatever, go in at the beginning with total awareness and take responsibility.
So in this context, because I see a lot of people around me experiencing, maybe I should say, love like they've never experienced before with somebody that is not their spouse, or maybe somebody has promised themselves to stay a bachelor. But what if they experience something with a great deal of intensity that they label as love? What would you say to that? Because it can be very, very intense.
I'm glad that you suddenly rephrased that. In the beginning you just said love, but then you said intensity that can feel like love. And
Yeah.
this is what this is about. Because this is when the pull to falling in love is so great. It's almost like people are powerless.
Yeah. Also, what I find a lot of people getting drawn by is all these signs that they see around them. So I would like you to speak of that as well.
Okay. So first of all, in a way, what you're talking about here is it's something I've worked with before when you've been with me, I think, when we do the inner wedding work. What we're getting into here is the anima and the animus. You know, the anima is the man's inner woman, and the animus is the woman's inner man. And when you're a woman, let's say that suddenly you meet a man who is carrying, you know, a feminine a masculine energy that totally corresponds with your animus, you're going to fall for him. And the attraction is going to be so great, it's going to be so intense. And it's really important to understand this. And it can happen whether you're in a committed relationship, you have a husband you love and you respect, and yet the pull of the animus is so great you can make a total mess in the marriage. One can, eh? Now, when you understand the pull of the anima and the animus, then you can realize what enormous potential this has for you becoming more whole, right? So if you can just stop and remember what you've learned, for example, what we work with in the Inner Wedding program, that to be free, because it can be like an obsession, to be free of this obsession, you need to take back the projection, the animus that you projected onto this man, or in the case of a man, to take back the animus projection he has on a particular woman. This is also why people keep falling in love with the same types of people, because they're carrying parts of their anima or animus. But when somebody is totally obsessed with someone, that's a sure sign that that person is carrying a great deal of the animus or the anima of the person involved. And then you have to learn, you know, to do like the anima or animus projection meditations, where you meditate on this one you become fascinated by, and you slowly take back that projection. And in the beginning there can be a lot of resistance, because if you take that projection, you're not going to be fascinated by that man or woman anymore. And I know from personal experience, when that happens, there can be a big resistance, because the movie, the drama, it's so great. And it's like when you're with that man or that woman, you totally light up. There's nowhere else you want to be, and you're totally in the moment. And when you're totally in the moment, you begin having transcendental experiences. And when that happens, absolutely everything feels significant. You know, the man you're projecting onto, you can open the door, and just the way he says hello reminds you of something that happened when you woke up this morning. Oh, it's a sign, it's a sign. This is my man, eh? It's amazing. I think it was Jung who said, you know, Carl Jung, I think it was him who said, the more highly developed somebody is spiritually, the more numinous the experiences the anima and animus become. And when I met my animus in this way, he also knew a lot about this. And he said to me, he said, you're not looking for a man, you're looking for a God. And it was true. And he wouldn't come close to me as a partner because he knew it would be wrong. He knew I had the opportunity to integrate this within myself. And that was a great blessing, that he wouldn't be with me physically. We were both attracted to each other. But he knew the time had come, this is maybe 30 years ago, to integrate that within myself. Eh? So this is a huge topic, and maybe we should talk some more about this sometime. Eh? And maybe I could share some exercises, you know, to share with people online, because it's a very interesting topic. And as I say, a good relationship or a marriage can be totally spoiled, because people suddenly have this experience and they don't know how to handle it. And they end up being unfaithful or totally leaving the marriage or the partner, or, you know, whatever. And in a way they can't help it, because the pull is so strong. But if you know how to work with it, then you can use it to integrate what you are attracted to in the other. And then you really become whole. It's the masculine and the feminine within coming together. Okay.
Okay, thank you.